George R.R. Martin has just released an update for Winds of Winter, or when he expects to be finished with it. In this video, I'm going to discuss a timeline in which I think the Winds will be released and what that could mean for House of the Dragon. Now, before we get started, please do me a favor and slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed and then you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night! Now, before we jump into what exactly George said in his Notablog post, speaking of which, I've linked it down below, you can go read it for yourself, but it's sort of a repeated element where we get an update on Winds saying that, George is making progress on it and eventually it will come out. Well, as of late, the most recent date that we were expected to get Winds of Winter is the New Zealand Worldcon. George R. R. Martin said himself that if he has not finished the book by the time he is supposed to be at Worldcon New Zealand in July 29th, 2020, that we were supposed to kidnap him and lock him in a room or something like that. But obviously that date is a little over a month away and Winds has not completed yet. So it kind of makes me wonder, what exactly the hell was the holdup? I mean, you've had multiple months to finish, and now since COVID-19 happened, the country's been on lockdown, George, and yet you still haven't finished this book. Well, luckily, George did address this in his Notablog post and stated that, "I have to confess, after half a year of pandemic, quarantine, and social distancing, I am showing signs of cabin fever, half of which is quite literal in my case. Yes, I am in an actual cabin in the mountains. No, I have no fever. Yea, for the present at least. I am healthy for an out of shape guy of 71, at least, and doing all I can say to stay that way." He also goes on to mention, "If nothing else, the enforced isolation has helped me write. I am spending long hours every day on the Winds of Winter," or as I call it, the true end to a Game of Thrones. Well, we all know Germ of Spring is coming after that, and he goes on to state that, "in making steady progress. I finished a few new chapters yesterday, another one 3 days ago, another one the previous week, but no, this does not mean the book will be finished tomorrow or published next week. It's going to be a huge book, and I still have a long way to go. Please do not give any credence to all the clickbait websites that like to parse every word of my post as if they were papal and that's a big word, to divine hidden meanings." Now, what's interesting is that in this blog post, George specifically mentions chapters that he's been working on. And he says, "As of late, I've been visiting with Cersei, Asha, Tyrion, Ser Barristan, and Areo Hota." He mentions, "I will be dropping back into Braavos next week." Now, George also mentions at the very end of this post that the House of the Dragon is still flying along wonderfully, thanks to Ryan Condal and his writers and the tireless Ty Mikkel. I think I pronounced that name wrong. Now, speaking of House of the Dragon, I actually did a video with a buddy of mine, Aziz from History of Westeros, and I linked that down below in the description. But in that video, we actually sort of talk about what the first season of the show may be focused on. And I actually plan on dropping another video later on this week telling you exactly who were on the greens and who were on the blacks. And I guess I'll address that in this video since I saw a lot of questions on it on my last video. The timeline for this show hasn't been completely confirmed, but a lot of people still think that it's going to be Aegon's conquest of Westeros and sort of how he conquered the Seven Kingdoms. That's not going to be the case. We may get a few flashbacks to that time, or maybe the opening scene is like one of the Field of Fire 2.0, or maybe the roasting of Harrenhal. Maybe we get something like that in a flashback, but I doubt we're going to actually get to see Aegon. You got to remember that Daenerys kind of just conquered the Seven Kingdoms a bit in Season 7 and Season 8. So if we do see that again, we got a Targaryen with his two sister wives, 3 dragons. It'll seem very reminiscent of Game of Thrones, and I think they're going to try to stray away from that, but also sort of carry that into House of the Dragon. It's like perfect, and I mentioned more in depth in that video, but House of the Dragon is literally a more advanced and perfect version of Game of Thrones. Instead of everybody vying for, who's the right house to sit on top, everybody is a Targaryen pretty much, and they're all fighting because they think that they should be the one to sit the Iron Throne. And the backstabbings and betrayals and the red weddings, all of those moments are in this House of the Dragon TV show if they focus on that time period of the Greens versus the Blacks, better known as the Dance of the Dragons. Now, like George mentioned in his post, they're kind of writing that show, the first season of it, so they haven't exactly started casting people yet, but I'm pretty sure that Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik have had a few Skype sessions with potential actors and actresses actresses who are going to be playing major roles in this show. Now, George actually ends his Not a Blog post by stating that, now, you will have to excuse me. Arya is calling, and I think she means to kill someone. And aside from him making several recommendations about books and shows to potentially watch, that's sort of all the information we get about Winds of Winter, is that he's consistently working on it, and he's finishing chapters all the time. But he does mention that in his Not a Blog post back in 99 when he was writing A Storm of Swords, like deep into it, he was producing chapters left and right. He does say that he doesn't know if he'll ever be able to recapture that sort of speed, which does make sense. It was 20 years ago and George is now a 71-year-old man. So since we know that he's pretty much been working on Winds, not consistently, but he has been pretty much working on it since, let's say, around 2011, maybe even before that, we do know that he's getting closer to finishing. He did say that he wouldn't be surprised if, basically by next year, it would be out sometime. I don't think that that date of next month is going to hold true. There might have been something to coincide with House of the Dragon that would go with the release of Winds of Winter. We got to understand that that is a definite show that's going to be coming out. And something as massive as the next installment of the A Song of Ice and Fire series and Winds of Winter, that coming out is going to be a huge promotional boost for the television show. So, do I think that George slowed down his writing speed? No. I think that George has just a few chapters left, and then obviously there's the massive edits that will be done once he turns it into his editor. I think that that has been extended. The dateline for that has been extended, and we're probably going to get to see Winds of Winter next spring, would be my prediction, because by then, we will have had almost a full cast of House of the Dragon announced, and I'm positive that we will have an official release date for the television show. But anyway, those are just my thoughts on the matter. You all let me know when you think the Winds of Winter will be released down below in the comment section. And also, let me know whether you think that it's going to go along with the release or at least the announcement of a cast of House of the Dragon, just to sort of boost that promotion on the new show. Alright, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 100. Also, make sure to subscribe and have your notifications turned on, as that is the most important thing you can do. We've actually dropped below 100,000 subs, so if you could please subscribe. Let's re-reach that goal again. A super special shout out to every single person watching this video, and a super special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been SirHunts Reviews. Long night.